6 p.m. on a Monday here in Korea. Welcome to our newscast. I'm Daniel Che. Let's start with the headlines. Meeting with her senior secretaries for the first time this year, President Park Geun-hye asked for concerted efforts to create new jobs for the youth and ordered the establishment of a regional police agency to better protect residents near the border from North Korean provocations. An Cheol-soo of the People's Party and Jung-bae of the National Congress joined forces. The duo promises to attract more dynamic talent to the new party and work for the interest of the people, not the politicians. Massive blizzards and temperatures as low as 48 degrees below zero, just some of the weather anomalies that have led to canceled flights and even deaths in many parts of our world. How long will the severe conditions persist? President Park Geun-hye has stressed the need for collaboration and understanding from all sectors of society to help create more decent jobs for young people. At a meeting with her senior secretary, she also ordered the launch of a new regional police agency to better protect citizens from North Korean threats. Our Song Ji-sun starts us off.
Citing the umbrella labor union's boycott last week against tripartite negotiations with the government and management, President Park Geun-hye asked for joint efforts and cooperation to create new jobs for the youth. The government last Friday announced labor guidelines based on the agreement reached between labor and management in September last year. The landmark deal is aimed at making Korea's labor market more flexible by implementing the wage peak system and allowing companies to dismiss underperforming workers. Workers opposed the guidelines, with one of the two major unions going on strike on Monday. Park refuted accusations that the new norms are designed to create jobs through fair employment practices.
공정 인사 지침에 쉬운 해고는 전혀 없습니다. 오히려 기업들이 능력과 성과에 따라서 공정하게 평가를 하고 교육, 훈련과 재배치 등 새로운 도전 기회를 제공하도록 기준과 절차를 제시해서 해고의 안전 장치를 만들고자 하는 것입니다.
She again stressed the related labor reform bills pending at the National Assembly must be passed to ensure reforms are realized. Monday's senior press secretary's meeting was the first of this year after the initial meeting was canceled following North Korea's sudden nuke test. President Park also addressed the need to establish a regional police agency in northern Gyeonggi-do Province to ease concerns of residents living close to the border in case of further provocations from the north. Song Ji-sun, Arirang News.
The National Assembly Act should be revised within the 19th National Assembly term to end the parliamentary deadlock. That's according to the Assembly Speaker Chung Kyo-hwa on Monday. His proposal would ease the requirements for fast-track legislation from the current 60% rule to majority rule. Under the current law, deadlock bills can be designated as fast-track items and be put up for a vote if 60% or 180 lawmakers consent. He also proposed introducing deadlines for the consideration of bills by the Legislation and Judiciary Committee, under which a bill would be automatically submitted to the plenary session after 90 days of deliberation. Chung remains opposed to the ruling Saenuri Party's demands to grant the Speaker more authority to table bills should a majority of lawmakers demand it. Two former main opposition lawmakers, An Cheol-soo and Chun Jung-bae, reunited today as part of a new opposition bloc, the People's Party. The two vowed to stand up against the ruling Saenuri Party, but will it be enough to unite liberal voters? Shin Se-min has more on the duo's resolve.
Two minor opposition parties have merged, and a new coalition enters the rapidly changing political landscape in Korea. Independent lawmaker An Cheol-soo of People's Party and Chun Jung-bae of National Congress announced they will join for victory over the ruling Saenuri Party in the coming parliamentary elections in April.
We share a common belief that the coalition should work in the interest of the people, not the politicians.
The United Coalition upholds constitutional values and has a vision towards demographic reform.
The coalition forms amid growing concerns that division within opposition circles may further split the progressive voters in the lead-up to the general elections. Vowing to provide hope to the people, the new duo promised to unite with other lawmakers and attract more talent to the new party. The new coalition will remain as the People's Party, but the two politicians have yet to disclose specifics on the agreement or official launch date. The latest move by former main opposition party affiliated lawmakers, An and Chun, is bound to intensify the rivalry with Moon Jae-in, chair of the main opposition bloc Minju Party of Korea. A recent local pollster shows that An Cheol-soo's People's Party has been struggling with faltering approval ratings of just over 17%, losing support in the strategically important Southwest or Honam region. Now, with the new teamwork, he's hoping to win back some of the voters as the political roller coaster is likely to continue in the lead up to the general elections. Shin Se-min, Arirang News.
The National Election Commission held its first ever policy debate ahead of the April general election with a representative from each of Korea's three biggest political parties in attendance. On Monday, the lawmakers from the ruling Saenuri Party, the main opposition Minju Party of Korea, and the minor opposition Justice Party discussed ways to overcome the economic problems facing the country, along with issues related to labor reform and job creation. Hosted by the election watchdog, the lawmakers were able to verify their party's policy pledges. The next nationally televised debate will take place on February 26th on the issue of social welfare. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry has embarked on a tour of East Asia that will take him to China on Wednesday. He's set to meet with senior officials and press Beijing to play a more constructive role in punishing North Korea for conducting a nuclear test earlier this month. As our Connie Kim explains, difficult talks may be in store.
Topping U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry's agenda this week will be pressuring China to impose heavy sanctions on North Korea following its fourth nuclear test. Citing a senior U.S. State Department official, Wall Street Journal reported Sunday, Kerry will make a final push to press Beijing, North Korea's longtime ally, to join the international community's move in slapping a new set of sanctions on Pyongyang. A U.S.-led United Nations Security Council resolution is being drafted, and Washington continues to emphasize Beijing's role and power to influence Pyongyang to change its course given their close trade and military ties. The senior official also underscored the importance of sending an unmistakable message to North Korean leader Kim Jong-un that his current strategy is making it difficult for China to side with the reclusive regime. Listing Beijing's efforts to prevent illegal activities through Chinese companies and ports, the official added there is much more room for further sanctions. Kerry will be reflecting Washington's stance on the matter as he ramps up the pressure on Beijing to impose independent sanctions on Pyongyang. The U.S. is mulling its own set of unilateral measures against the North, including penalizing third-party countries that do business with the regime, which would likely affect China as well. The senior U.S. official went on to blame North Korea for walking away from the six-party nuclear talks in 2008 and the opportunity to denuclearize with the support of the international community. Connie Kim, Arirang News.
South Korea raised its cyber alert level following an influx of malicious emails presumed to have originated from North Korea. The Ministry of Science, ICT and Future Planning raised the country's cyber alert one notch from normal blue to the cautious yellow level on Monday, urging the public to install antivirus programs and refrain from opening the emails. The suspicious emails claimed to be sent from government organizations, including the Presidential Office of Cheol-soo and Internet portal managers. The ministry says the emails could be part of organized cyber attacks following Pyongyang's alleged successful hydrogen bomb test earlier this month, citing similar attempts made by the North after its third nuclear test back in 2013. Korea's terms of trade improved significantly last year, rising at its fastest annual pace on record due to low global oil prices. The Bank of Korea said Monday that the relevant index came in at 99.97 in 2015, up over 11% from the previous year. That marks the biggest increase since related data began being compiled back in 1988. The index gauges the amount of imports a country can purchase for each unit of exports. The price of Dubai crude, which Korea uses as its benchmark, tumbled to the $30 a barrel level last month, down sharply from the $50 plus level in January 2015. Korea has opened a center in downtown Seoul to support trade and investment with Iran as the country emerges from sanctions and international isolation. Officials from the Finance and Trade Ministries, Korea, Exim Bank, and other related institutions gathered on Monday to open the center that aims to resolve problems companies or ordinary people face in the process of making investments or doing trade with Iran. The Finance Ministry expects the center to make it easier for companies to get all-rounded information before they had to call or visit separate institutions one at a time. Speaking at the opening ceremony, Vice Finance Minister Choi Sang-mok emphasized that the lifting of sanctions provides a great opportunity for the Korean economy. Despite being one of the wealthiest countries in Asia, Korea has the highest elderly poverty rate in the OECD. Making matters worse, a new study shows most old people struggling to make ends meet also suffer from so-called multidimensional poverty. Park Ji-won sheds light on this issue.
Nearly 7 out of 10 Korean senior citizens end up suffering from multiple layers of poverty. According to a recent study of nearly 3,000 senior citizens surveyed, 67.3% of them, as of 2013, were defined as living below the poverty line in more than 2 criteria, such as income, housing, and health. More than half of the elderly citizens were considered poor in terms of income, earning less than half of the nation's median income. 5 out of 10 senior citizens also suffer from more than 2 chronic diseases, depression, or have difficulty with physical activities. Nearly half of the senior citizens also have poor social participation rate based on their regular group activities. However, compared to figures in 2011, the overall numbers have improved. Research fellow Hwang Nam-hee, who led the study, says the reasons behind the improvement are not yet clear and could be the topic of future studies. She emphasized that the goal of her study was to show that more policies should be devised for helping senior citizens from a social aspect.
Most senior welfare policies center around strengthening income, such as providing subsidies or basic pension. However, as this study shows, more policy interest should be given to senior citizens' depression rate or social participation rate.
The study was published in the latest edition of Pension Forum, published by the National Pension Research Institute. Park Ji-won, Arirang News.
Most of the country is still bearing the brunt of temperatures well below freezing on this Monday, a day after Seoul shivered through its coldest day in 15 years. But according to our Lee Ji-won, the weather is gradually easing, with flights to and from Jeju resuming operations as well. Take a look.
The cold wave watch has continued for an 8th straight day in some parts of the country as Monday's temperatures remain low. According to the nation's weather agency, the Monday morning temperatures in Seoul was a bone-chilling minus 14 degrees Celsius, Daegu minus 11, and Busan minus 8. Korea's southern regions also received warnings of heavy snow in the morning, while a record 130 centimeters of snow piled up in eastern island of Ulleungdo. It's been 8 days since ships couldn't approach or leave the island due to strong winds and waves, causing the island to run out of daily necessities. But conditions are easing, with temperatures forecast to return to seasonal norms from Tuesday. Flights to and from Jeju-do Island are also back to normal from Monday afternoon, ending the 42-hour suspension for some 87,000 travelers stranded on the island. Korea isn't the only country braving the severe cold spell. A massive blizzard struck the U.S. East Coast over the weekend, and at least 19 people have died in storm-related accidents. A state of emergency has been declared in 11 states, and about 12,000 flights have been canceled. Washington, D.C. received 60 centimeters of snow, the second highest since 1922. And the federal offices in the capital will be closed on Monday. China also suffers from the harsh cold spell, with some northern provinces reporting seasonal lows of 48 degrees below zero. Hong Kong saw its coldest day in nearly 60 years on Sunday as the mercury plunged to 3 degrees Celsius. But the cold wave is expected to let up soon, with temperatures around the world forecast to return to seasonal averages this week. Lee Ji-won, Arirang News.
Frigid temperatures here in Seoul have most of us staying indoors and dreading the thought of stepping outside. But public workers in the city continue to get on with their jobs. Oh Soo-young brings to the spotlight these selfless men and women.
A team of firemen train outside in the cold, equipped with ropes and fire hoses. They're preparing for potential fires, which occur rampantly during the cool, dry season.
The cold is the last thing on my mind when I'm thinking about how to save a person in need. It could happen to anyone's family.
For postman Hong, it's a fight against the cold every day as he delivers his parcels from house to house. He wears multiple layers and hot patches on his body to endure the bitter cold.
It's really cold, but I work hard every day because the residents are very kind and give me hot drinks. They warm my heart.
And in downtown Seoul, multilingual translators brave the city chills, geared up in red puffy coats, fur hats and cheery smiles as they greet tourists from all over the world, helping them make their way around town.
It's cold, but it feels good when people thank us for helping them.
Public workers in the capital are braving the cold to do their jobs, keep the city running smoothly, and help us weather the coldest days of the season. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
And that brings us to the end of this hour's newscast. Thank you for watching.